Hello everyone, welcome to Maria's Ideas Teaches Us to Paint. If this is your first tutorial with us, welcome. If you have been with us before, thank you so much. So this is the short tutorial to draw this little Highland cow, which we are going to paint. This is episode 22 of Bethel Park Cable TV, Maria's Ideas Teaches Us to Paint. If you are in Bethel Park, PA, you can get that on their channel. I think it's Verizon 32 and Comcast 21, something like that. But you can also watch it on their YouTube channel and my YouTube channel, Maria's Ideas Art. So we have a tutorial for each episode. And like I said, this is episode 22. I do design each one to relate somehow to our special guest. We do film this at Johno's Art Studio in the Southside Slopes at Pittsburgh, and that's where I started my business, Maria's Ideas, back in 1982. And so we do have special guests come in that join myself and my co-host Alan Levine. So welcome, and let's get started. So what I did here, just to show you, you can draw something smaller. You can draw it the actual size and transfer it if you have graphite paper or transfer paper, which this is graphite paper. It's, if you're a little bit older, you might remember carbon paper. It's kind of like that, but this is graphite. It also comes in a white if you're working on a dark background. You can get that in sheets and a roll online or in craft stores. But this is the grid system, which if you have equal rectangles or squares, they're proportioned the same. These are more rectangular. So I'm painting on, or I'm going to draw this on 11 by 14 piece of paper. We typically use 11 by 14 for the show so that we can all fit at the table. You can use any size that you choose. Just be aware that the proportion is a rectangle, and you want that to be similar so that this will transfer accurately. It doesn't have to be this, proportion. I'm just saying that's what this one is. So what I did on this, if you want to sketch on the paper first instead of messing up your canvas or whatever you're going to draw on, I folded it in half and then in half again, and then vertically and horizontally. So, and then after I opened it up, just to show you, I drew the lines where they are. So we have our center, and we have the nice grid here, and basically it's kind of like connect the dots without the dots. So let's get started. So what you want to do, I'm going to do this a little bit darker. And if you watched this before, you know I use a watercolor pencil because that will melt back into your paint. If you're using watercolor paints, that will work. Also oils as well. So because it's water soluble, it will just kind of melt back into your paint. If you choose to use a regular graphite pencil, just do it very lightly so that you don't have a hard time covering those lines up. You could use chalk, you could use whatever you want, but I'm going to do this a little bit darker just so it shows up. And you can get out a tape measure or a ruler if you choose. I'm just going to kind of give myself an idea of what that looks like center, and it's enough for what this. We're not doing something that's architectural or that has to be exactly so specific. We're just doing this little cow. Everyone's cow will be a different maybe shape or size, as I'm sure they are too, right? No two are alike. So let's see. I'm going to put my center point and then put a little dot or a dash above and below. And this helps you go, if you look, you start at the top and then look ahead toward where you're going. That kind of helps. Okay, and you can see it's not perfectly straight, and that's fine. This is again just a guide. And then I will do the same thing. I will divide this vertically in half, okay, and then I'll bring that down here and then draw this again. I'm doing these dark so that you can see what I'm doing here, and then I will do the same vertically. So if I was doing this on a wall, I would have the same proportion on the wall, and you would determine the how large each of these rectangles are. For example, if I have an 11-foot wide wall by 8-foot high, something like that, then each one of these would be equal to half of 11 is 5.5. So this would be 5.5 feet, and then that would be half of that. So you see how you could just transfer a design by putting the same amount of rectangles to proportion to the size that you want, whether it's on a wall or a canvas or a board or anything. So, all right, so let's get started. So I am going to look, I drew this first, I have it drawn, I printed it out, and then I put my grid on here, and I can see that the top of his little head or her head and the bottom, the bottom is right here. I'm going to use brown so it shows up. This is right here, and then it's on my actual paper. This is about a 1/2 inch above. Okay, so that gives me my upper and lower points where I'm going to draw. That's the shape and the size of the head. Now there's the in between, halfway between these two. That's about 1/3. Okay, so I'll come in halfway vertically and come in about 1/3. So that's the same point. So you can see I can go like this, right? And then the same thing over here. Now on this one, there's a little bit, tiny bit more space on this side. Really doesn't matter. Again, this is just a rough. You usually do all of your detail and everything when you paint, but this just gives you something to work with. Then let's see, we'll pick another point here, and that is just about halfway down. And again, it's pretty much directly below this, but just a little bit in. So that's kind of right here and here. So that we will bring down. Okay, that's there. And then we have this point down here. Now, this isn't necessarily the shape of the cow's head, but we will add contour lines and the profile and all for the sides. But this gives you the positioning and the overall size where your Highland cow is going. And then from this, we can see we're coming in. Let's see, I'll put this right here. So we can see that's here, and that's just like little the body, and then this one come in here. I have a background, little bit of a landscape going on here. You can put these any place that you choose, or no background. I'm not going to even draw the flowers in right now. Let's go finish this face up. So we can now see between this top row and the second row, halfway down, that's about where some of this, I have some of the hair kind of coming down. Okay, and then also the position of the eyes. So if we draw, if I make these show up a little bit here, you could see they're about in the center of the center horizontally, and this one about the size of a dime, maybe a little bigger, but they're not necessarily a circle. They're this one, and the bottom of it's tilted a little bit like this because of the shape of the nose. And again, you can adjust all of this when you paint, but this gives you something to work with. So there's the eyes, and then the sides of the nose, or would it be a snout, I guess? Let's see, and then the nose itself, that's about 1/3. So you could see if you break this up into, this is a little bit of an oval. You can also do a rectangle. So let's do that. Let's do an oval. Okay. And then within that oval, we're going to do a rectangle. And then, so this is why math and geometry helps with drawing too, right? So this is the actual front of the nose. And let's see, if we come in here, we bring this down, and this will come out. So you just kind of look, you can look at pictures online or in a book just to get an idea of how their shape, their noses and their mouth, and this will come up like that. So there you could see, and you'd have the hair. But again, I usually don't do as much of these details until I paint. So you could see this would be all a different color. So there you have the shape of the nose, right? And then the hair. So some of them have really wild hair. You could have fun with that. You could add, again, the details of the fur or hair. You can do that as you paint, but just to give you an idea, that's where this would all come in. And then the shadows and everything. And let's see with the horns, that would be furry up there too. I'm going to just color in the eyes because it looks funny to me. Okay, let's see, the horns will be right off the sides of the head. They're coming down. You can see right here, I'd say maybe 1/5, maybe 1/5 of there. But again, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. This is just to help you get the composition laid out and everything. So your horns could be bigger, they could be longer, they could be thicker. And from this side, it doesn't even have to be exactly the same, because maybe the head's turned a little bit. And then the ears are, again, if you do a little point, about 1/3 from this line over. So that's 1, 2, so it's about here. And they're nice size. I'm gonna have nice big ears. This could maybe be a young one. Young animals tend to be shown, their eyes seem bigger and a little lower on their face, maybe some bigger ears. And then the hair, the insides of the ears, that would all again come in. And I kind of feel like maybe I want these a little longer than it is in the picture. So there you have the drawing. And then you can, when you paint, you can paint the whole background first, let it dry, and then do your drawing. You can do it that way. You can draw it first. So if this was watercolor pencil on your canvas, you could wet this, and as you do the background, or if you already have it on, this would just melt back in, and as you're painting everything, these will just blend right back in. If you wanted to have some of the flowers drawn ahead of time, you could do that. They're just simple little petaled flowers. You can put any types of flowers you want. You can add the foliage and all, but that, I usually don't even draw things like this that are on in the foreground, the layers. When you paint with acrylics, you paint from the back to the front. So these things on the front would be, it's a lot easier if you paint this section of the landscape and then do the flowers on top, so that in between the flowers and the greenery, you will have those colors, the cow and everything. So this, just to show you, that's kind of where they lay out. So this is the episode 22. And hopefully you'll come back and maybe subscribe. This is a volunteer show. We just do this just to inspire others. I've always wanted to teach. I've been in business for a very long time, and I know anyone can learn. And I do a lot of painting classes and teaching here in the Pittsburgh area. If you're ever in the area, you can check out our studio. It's johnosart.com, johnosart.com is the address, and then mariasideas.com. That's also on there. Okay, so hopefully we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching, and happy painting. Remember to follow the pickle. Thanks, guys.